Welcome to Ideas TV. Ideas TV is a show about social issues. My name is Kevin McKenna, and I'm the Executive Director of Ideas. Our mission is to educate American society on the most important social issues facing it going into the 21st century. We've just finished a documentary film called Sundown on Skid Row about the homeless situation in this country, and we're presently developing a series of educational shows for junior high and middle school and high school students on addiction. Tonight, we are very, very lucky to have as our special guest, Sue Meyer, who is the founder and the president of the International Child Abuse Network, Yes, I Can. Sue has 3 master's degrees and is probably one of the foremost authorities on child abuse in the country. Sue, thank you very much for coming to the show.
Thank you for asking me.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm really grateful to have you come on and discuss this very important issue. I was looking on your webpage, and there was some statistics on child abuse, and they just shocked me.
Right.
How many children die daily due to child abuse?
Anywhere from 3 to 5 children die every day from child abuse, and the sad part about it is that they die before they're a year old. The preponderance of those individuals who die before they're a year. And that's got to stop. On top of that, every 30 seconds, we've got a 30-minute session to talk about this, and imagine how many 30 seconds that is.
That's unbelievable.
And every 30 seconds, a child is abused.
And then there was a staggering figure on the calls to Child Protection Services. There was...
In the United States, we're still staying right about 3 million cases every year.
Wow.
And that's certainly not all the abuse that's going on, because many go unreported. But certainly that's way beyond what we should be doing. It would be nice if we didn't have a Child Protective Services because we didn't need it. That's what the International Child Abuse Network is hoping. I mean, our mission is to work worldwide to break the cycle and the silence of child abuse. The sad part about it is child abuse, while everybody is against it, no one wants to talk about it. It's one of those things that nobody wants to get involved with because it's a family issue. And because of that, everybody believes that it's wrong, but they really don't understand quite what that means. What exactly does that mean it's wrong? And because of that, children are continuously being hurt daily, every moment, because of what parents do or people that are related to them or that they know do to them.
Right. Now, I met you. You were my professor of child psychology. I also took a class in human sexuality. And one of the figures that astounded me, because I have 4 children myself, was 1 out of every 4 children is abused by the time, sexually abused by the time they're 13 years old. Now, and a lot of these kids are abused by family members, right?
Family members, about probably 90% of those individuals who have been sexually abused, the abuser was someone that they knew. Either someone that they were related to or someone that was close to them, a teacher, a coach, a pastor, a rabbi, anybody that seems to be someone that a child feels that they could trust. So, so often we tell our children not to talk to strangers, which is correct, certainly, to keep them safe. But it's not the stranger that's going to do the most hurt, and it's not the stranger that seems to be the perpetrator most often.
Right. Oh, that's terrible. Now, I've heard that children who are abused actually become abusers. Is that true? This is a cycle of abuse, that sexual abuse just
Certainly.
keeps...
Our cycle of abuse, it's an interesting thought. It makes sense to think about the fact that if you were raised in a home where there was violence in it, where there was constant barrages of browbeating, and your whole sense of who you were was told that you were worthless, or you were sexually violated on a continuous basis. When you grow up to become a parent, where do we learn to be a parent? From our parents, right? Most of us believe that somehow we're, innately ordained to be able to be a parent, and so how do we parent? We parent the way we were parented, and so it makes sense that if you think about it, a child who has been abused would probably also turn out to be an abuser. Now, the reality is that for the most part, most children that have been abused will do everything they can do not to do that. But clearly, those who do abuse, most of them have been abused themselves.
Right. And it's not just physical abuse or sexual abuse, it's also emotional abuse and verbal abuse. And
in fact, if you really think about it, and so often when I do lectures about abuse, when I say, I'm going to start with psychological abuse, why do you suppose I'd start with psychological abuse? What I usually get is, well, that's the lesser one, that's the one, it's not the biggest deal. In reality, that's the worst abuse that can happen to a child. When you think about the fact that a child's spirit is being broken when you're emotionally abusing this child, when you're telling this child they are worthless, you wish they'd never been born, they're stupid, why can't they do anything right? You're just like someone that you absolutely hate. What is that doing to that child's spirit? And from that moment on, they feel as though they deserve anything that they get, which is usually negative. So in reality, most often, emotional abuse is the foundation of all of the other abuses, because once you've broken a child's spirit, then the sexual abuse, the physical abuse, the neglect, it all happens, and it's easier because the child figures it's my fault, I deserve it. Right. Of course, this is the way it's supposed to be.
And now mentioning neglect, now that's another thing that's very important, because I remember in one of the films we saw with these kids in Russia that were neglected, they were orphans, they were never hugged, and they all seem to have tremendous psychological and emotional and physical problems. So I guess hugging is very good, right? Of
course, any kind of nurturing, loving, holding, caring, reading to a child, and it's so important for the formative years. It used to be that we thought that every year was as important as every other year, but now we're learning that a child's, the moment they're conceived until about 5 years old, that little child is developing in a way that they'll never develop again. And all the little neurons are starting to connect, and they're being wired. And as they're being wired, they're learning about, this is the way the world is. Right. This is how we experience the world. This is how we relate to the world. And if it's wired in a way through nurturing and caring and loving and reading and just being there as a parent and a support system, that child learns that the world is a positive place. It's a loving place, and it's a place where I can explore and move out to and take chances, and it's going to be okay because there's always going to be somebody there to support and love me. If a child is getting abused, if they're being neglected, if they're not being touched and cared for and loved, what they're learning is this is the way the world is, and that there is no one for me. There's no one that's going to be around, and so it's frightening for them, and they don't even want to try to take that next chance. Right. And once they're wired, while there's always that, you can always change the way you are. There's always that ability to change. But once you have the wiring in, then what we have to do is rewire. And as we all know, once you rewire, all that means is it's gone over that old wiring. And it's always there. So when stress is added, and if you've noticed the world as we're living today, it's highly stressful. there is that likelihood that we will revert back to that old behavior, or if we choose not to, it's going to take a whole lot more energy to not do that. And so a person who is a survivor of abuse has to expend far more energy to do the things all of us who have never been abused do easily than any other thing. I mean, they spend more energy to just be what we would call normal because of the fact that they have to go around the stuff that they learn.
Right.
So it's better to do it the first way, right.
So we should tell our parents or parents out there to do a lot of hugging, a lot of...
Absolutely, and getting parenting classes, good, strong parenting classes that talk about development and understanding your child at the age that they are and what kind of boundaries we need to set up, and allowing them the ways to make choices and being a good support system for our children's development.
Right. Now that's what you do at the Child Abuse Network, the International Child Abuse Network. Can you tell us a little bit about your operation and how you help people and how maybe they can get in touch with you if they are abusers or abused?
To be honest with you, our organization is an extremely unique organization. We provide our services over the internet, and we do that because, first of all, we think it's better to have a place where someone can go and access it in the privacy of their own home. Child abuse is a hidden experience, and many of the people that come into our website are people we've never actually seen before. When I decided to found this organization, it was because I had worked as the director of the National Child Abuse Hotline for a while, and a program came that we were honored to have our number placed on. It was called Scared Silent, and it was a program that was simulcast over ABC, NBC, and all the networks. And being someone who had been doing this for a long time, thought, we will be able to handle the calls. The first 5 minutes, we had 5,700 calls.
Wow.
And the network, the telephone network, actually shut down several states because we were interfering with their emergency systems because of the amount of calls that were coming in.
Wow.
And every time one of my crisis counselors would pick up the phone, it would be, I've never told this to anyone before. And they'd deal with that call and put that phone down, and then the next call would be the same. And so I realized this is way huger than I ever experienced. And I knew the statistics. I'd known the statistics for years, but this was bigger. And so we needed to be able to access more people quicklier.
Right.
That's
quicker.
Not the word, quicker. And because of that, I decided to open an organization that would do it internationally and provide a service that would be online where people could access it within the privacy of their own home.
So this is a hotline online.
It's actually support groups. It's a trained facilitator, a person who's gone through a training that Yes I Can provides them.
Now these are volunteers? Or
absolutely. We are an all-volunteer organization.
So do you need more volunteer facilitators?
Certainly. We always need more volunteers, because we would like to be an organization that could provide services 24/7 and have these groups all the time, constantly, because if you're thinking about international, no matter what time of day, there's always somebody up that needs to talk.
Right.
These are support groups. These are a way for individuals to come in that have never talked about this before. It's anonymous, it's confidential, and it gives the person an opportunity to learn they're not alone, because there are other people. And what's unique about it, they realize not only am I not alone, but this is a worldwide issue because people from all over the world are coming into our groups. On top of that, these are people that have not ever accessed community support. For the most part, it's because they're too afraid and shamed about what happened to them. They think that people are going to blame them or judge them, and because of that, they just don't feel comfortable in taking that step and getting into some sort of counseling or therapy. And so they come into our website very frightened, and we support them in talking about what happened to them, talking about how that affects them in their lives as they are now, and that we teach them that healing is possible. And we talk about what healing looks like and what healing happens. And the nice part about it is that there are other people at different phases of their healing that can give encouragement to these people too.
So are you looking for volunteers, and then they have to sign up, and then you train them? How long is the training process?
The training is 10 weeks long. It's didactic in that we do lecture and we do role plays, and we help them know what it's like to facilitate on a group before they even start.
Now, also, college students, some of them can get extra credit for this if they go through the service learning department of the college.
Right.
So any college students out there that
Right.
want to maybe get some service learning credits, you could contact Sue about
Certainly.
picking up some extra credits. And if you want to get in touch with Sue, you can call me. There's a number at the end of the thing, and I'll give you Sue's number. So if you are interested in volunteering, she's always looking for volunteers. Please give a call, because this is really something that needs to be done. And I would,
You could always
really
access our
recommend-
website as well. Our website is www.yes, and we'd love to have you come through and just take a look at us and see what we have to offer and the information that we provide. And then we have a bulletin board if you want to post a message, or if you're a survivor, certainly we would love to have you participate in our facilitated groups.
Now, both abused people and abusers sometimes do call.
Certainly.
Or get in touch with you.
Yeah, our mission is to break the cycle. And
Right.
you cannot break the cycle unless you break the cycle at all levels. And that means we have to address the children, we have to address the survivors, the parents, we also have to address the perpetrators, we have to address the public.
And if you are a perpetrator, you don't turn them into the police or anything. This is all anonymous.
This is anonymous.
Right.
We don't have any way of finding them in the first place. And if they are genuinely wanting to get help, we are willing to work with them.
So you'll refer them to psychological counseling
Certainly.
or to different organizations that will help the abused child or whatever get out of the
Absolutely.
cycle of abuse. So that's a wonderful, wonderful thing you're doing. I really commend you for this. Now, you also have different events every year. You're going to have an art show coming up.
We have a really nice prevention program, and in fact we won an award, the Betty McConey Award, through the Women's World Summit Foundation through the UN for the best prevention program, and it's a children's art exhibit. World Day for Prevention of Child Abuse is November 19th, and that's the day that we celebrate the Convention on the Rights of the Child. And we honor children by having them present us with artwork. And this year's theme is Secrets You Keep, and what are secrets that you cannot keep. And you draw, or you can do graphic design, photography, poetry, whatever you like to do. You have to be a child from 5 to 12th grade. And you present us with a piece of art, and then we have a great celebration. It's going to be on the 18th of November. And we show the artwork, and we bring the children up and have them talk a little bit about their art, and they're honored by both the city and by Yes I Can with certificates and gift certificates, and
Wow.
it's a way to honor our future, because frankly they are our future.
Right,
and
for sure.
we want them to know how important they are. This is not a contest. Every child that submits us a piece of art, we present it and show it, and it's, you know, it's honored. And it goes up on our website, and everyone in the world gets to see it. And it's so fascinating to watch these kids realize that they are now artists, number one, and number two, you know, everybody keeps telling us, oh, you know, how difficult must it be for children to come up and talk about their art, and yet we've never had a child say no.
Especially if it's a secret
It's,
that
you know, yes.
they've been keeping. And I guess some of these stories are probably really touching. Do you have any
Last
touching
year,
stories?
our theme was what makes me feel safe, and almost such a high amount of the art was presented with what makes me feel safe is staying in the house, that I'm afraid to leave my home.
Wow.
Now, and I'm an older person, and so I remember saying to my mom in the morning, bye, and leaving and coming back in the afternoon or in the evening as it started to get darker. And my mother was perfectly happy with that because I was safe. And yet these children are afraid to leave the house for fear that they may be hurt. And how frightening must that be for these kids?
Right.
And it just, you know, and I can remember one of the paintings that says, you know, I feel safe now that mommy stopped hurting herself, which says, we've got a survivor as a mother who's really working at what she's trying to do to be a good mother, and this little child is responding to that. And just these pieces of art and these children that create it are amazing kids.
Speaking about safe, my youngest daughter is 9, is afraid to walk to school by herself because we went to Megan's Law, the website, and we found out our next door neighbor is a convicted child molester.
Wow.
So she will not walk by his house every day. And I think that now, when I was a kid, we just, like you, I'm almost 60 years old, so I grew up in an era where at 8 or 9 years old, I was walking around the neighborhood and no one really,
Right.
cared. So I think all the exposure and everybody hearing about this is really sort of getting us paranoid about what's happening. But with the pedophiles, I don't understand why they put them in jail for 18 months and then let them go.
Right.
What needs to be done, we need to do research and we need to do some kind of rehabilitation,
Right.
not just punishment. Punishment, as you know, as a psychologist, is not the greatest form of changing someone.
Right.
So I think what we really do need to do is look into some kind of research for these
Right.
people, especially when 1 out of 4 kids is being molested. That means that there's a hell of a lot of molesters out there. So I think something has to be done about this.
Certainly, I would absolutely agree, and we've clearly seen that prison doesn't work. But on the other hand, what else do we do at this moment? We don't have any other alternatives until we get a better treatment program that works better.
Right.
I think, as sad as it is, that I think it's wonderful that you know this so that your daughter is aware,
Right.
because unless this child is aware, how does she know how to stay safe on her own?
Oh, if you go to Megan's Law, there's
Right.
50 in the area right around my home. It's just amazing,
Right.
within a mile or two. It's just amazing how many are convicted. I think there's 60-something thousand registered sex offenders in California.
I think something that frightens me a little bit is the internet.
Right.
Here our organization works on the internet, and I think we do an amazing job. We started off with 9 people coming into our website. Now we're getting 25,000 people coming into our website every month.
You've passed the 1 million mark
Yes.
a while back. And
Yes.
You've had over 1 million hits. That's
Just
quite
amazing,
impressive.
and those are actually people coming in. It's not hits; it's actually people coming in. And our chat rooms are constantly being attended by individuals. But on the other hand, we have places where children can get online, and because this is a technology where our kids probably know far more than we do.
Right.
And I mean, I've watched Predators and how
I've watched that
quickly they
show.
can get to kids. And I can remember when I would go to sleepovers with my friends, and my mother would tell us we're not allowed to play with the Ouija board. And so, of course, what did we play with? With the Ouija board, of course. And so, if you tell your child, don't get on the internet, I only want you to be on the internet when I'm there. Of course, when they go to their friends, where do you suppose that they go? And these predators are good. They're very good. And it's just so important for us to be very mindful of what this internet can do for us, but also what it can do to our children.
Right.
And be aware of that, and be willing to take the steps to saying, I'm sorry, but you can't be on the internet except when I'm with you, and so that I know, that you're safe, because that's what's important. It's just scary sometimes.
Right. Now, your organization is funded how?
Mostly by benevolent people who are willing to donate to us.
So it's usually donations
Right.
and a few grants and things like that.
Absolutely. We are having an upcoming fundraiser on the 28th of October. It's Strike Against Child Abuse to Spare the Kids at Canoga Park Bowl. We'd love to have anybody come.
Oh, that's bowling.
It's bowling, and then we
Okay.
have the 501st Legion of Star Wars characters who come in dressed in Star Wars characters, and they're wonderful. Every child just gets a kick out of them because they are absolutely authentic looking. It's just amazing, and it's a lot of fun for everyone. And we have a great silent auction as well.
Now, do you have a story you could share with us about one of your, don't give away any names or anything, but any touching stories of kids or people who've...
There's a story that has touched my heart, and it's probably part of the reason why I keep doing this. I love children, first of all. I think they're the reason why we are. But on top of that, there was this one young lady that came into she was one of the first people that came into our chat room. And she was from another country, and she was being abused by her father, and her father was also selling her. And she couldn't get away. And she had even started college, and that's part of the reason why she was afraid to access support, because she felt that, now I've become an adult, and people are going to tell me, why shouldn't I change, and why can't I stop this now? And if you understand, if your spirit's been broken at 3 and 4 years old, it's hard at 22 to say no.
Right.
And because of that, she was continuously in this situation. And we talked for months, and one day I asked her, what kind of balloons do you, or what do you love the best? She was, I love yellow balloons. And I told her, I said, okay, when you get away, because we finally decided that the only way she was going to be able to get away is literally disappearing, changing her name, changing her identity. And I said, when you finally get away, we're going to put balloons up on our website.
Wow.
And one day I was at a health fair, actually, at Valley College, and one of my facilitators came up and she leaned over to me and she goes, she's out.
Wow.
Excuse me. And it was, probably, every time I think of giving up, I turn around and I say to myself, that's why I do it.
Right.
And if you go on our website and you go into the schedule of the groups, you'll see balloons.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And that's, to me, that's the reason why I keep this work up.
I saw a film on the child sex trade in Thailand recently, and it was just shocking. I mean, these little 5-year-old girls, it just broke my heart. I could get into tears myself right now thinking about it, but something has to be done. I really commend Bush passing that law that any American that's found coming back to the country after participating in this will be arrested. I think that's our music. We're going to have to probably wrap this up. Thank you very much, Sue, for coming. This was really wonderful. I really appreciate this. And please, if we have any people that want to volunteer to help kids, please get in touch with Sue or myself. And this is a very, very worthwhile organization. So please try to help. It's hard to change the world, but if we take one step at a time, maybe we can do it.
One child at a time.
One child at a time. Thank you very much for watching. And this is Kevin McKenna and Sue Meyer for Ideas TV.